Hello, everyone. I am Derek, the chocolate botanist, and maybe you can see me, maybe you can't. But the thing you need to see is the greatness we have in front of us, which is the Catawba Trail Farm. This farm is a labor of love and a reclamation of a site that is the intersection between various peoples of color and history within Durham, North Carolina. And in front of me, I have one of the team of Urban Community AgriNomics, Delphine Sellars. Hello, Delphine. How are you today?
Hi, Derek. I'm doing great, and I'm honored to be here.
Well, I'm honored to have you. Most of y'all don't know this. I met Delphine and her sister Lucille here. Jesus, what was it? 8 years ago now. So
At least.
it was a long time ago. I might be making that number up, and it was super phenomenal to, in my instance, and I don't think I ever told you this, meet someone who exuded black excellence, tact, class, and knew how to tangle with the system. The system, with whatever y'all take that at, whatever connotation you take it at.
Well, thank
So
you. Thank you.
I'm appreciative. I love it. So we're going to begin. We're going to get started with this lovely interview. So here's the question that I want to pose to you. Number one, tell us about UCAN. Tell us about the Catawba Trail Farm. Give us a summation of who you are, you Delphine, you Urban Community Agronomics. I know this is a big question, and you as the Catawba Trail Farm.
Okay. I think, let me start with, again, I'm Delphine Sellars, and to understand me and why I am even sitting here on the Catawba Trail Farm is to understand a bit of my background. I am from North Carolina. I grew up in eastern North Carolina. Some people call the town Little Washington, original Washington, but Washington, North Carolina. But the key is I grew up on what was called a truck farm. That's no more than a vegetable farm. So my life is always intertwined with plants, with the outdoors, with food, with nutrition, and it is just only natural that it would transcend me to where I am today. The road that I travel has always been one of service, but it brought me back to the service that is related to agriculture and food, plants, and nutrition.
Lovely. Well, speaking of that and being related to foods, plants, and nutrition, tell us your plant story. How did you become involved in plants or even have this vision for this beautiful property?
Part of it again is the career path that I took. As a former county extension director, I was all around in Durham County. I was never known for one to sit behind a desk. So as I traversed the county, I got to see a lot of inequities. And one was food insecurity. It's real. Or the lack of food security is what I like to put it in a more positive sense. I saw that, and upon retirement, it was like there's something I need to do something. I have skills. I don't want to sit home. So what can I do to help others to succeed?
Mm-hmm.
To not only succeed but to thrive, not just survive, but to thrive.
To thrive and to survive. That is beautiful. And for those of you who are listening and you're like, hey, I don't know what a food insecurity is or a food security is, that is basically a different way of saying those who struggle with hunger and that issue of malnutrition. So food insecurities and makes it sound a little more um, gentle and a little more professional. And I once you again showed us that term, I've run with it ever since. So tell me about the history of this land.
We are actually sitting on what was once an old plantation. This land, which was originally called Snow Hill Plantation, is actually part of the 5,000 acre plantation system that exists in what is now the current boundaries of Durham County.
Mm-hmm.
But in the 1800s, it consisted of 30,000 acres, so it was much, much larger than this. We call this place the Catawba Trail Farm because the path or the trail that one drives up to get to the actual farming area is actually a Catawba trading path. So the indigenous people, as well as the enslaved people, lived and worked on this farm. Now you know, with the enslaved people, it was not by choice, no
Mm-hmm.
necessary about it. They were enslaved, and there's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. But right now, we have possession of 53 acres of land. will soon turn into 179 acres,
Ooh.
and that 179 acres will be turned over, and the rights given and the ownership of the property will be given to UCAN. I share that because I do live, or we live in a world where I often use the phrase, consider thyself approved. And I know I'm not saying it actually properly, but we've overcome many hurdles as a
Mm-hmm.
small nonprofit organization. We've fought many ups and downs as a small nonprofit organization, but we always stay true to our mission, our goal, and our purpose for even existing. And I sincerely believe that once you prove to God that you can do great with a little, He gives you a lot. And for us, that is where we are now. So this land that we sit on right now was once toiled, our ancestors toiled and enslaved on this as enslaved people. We've come full circle, and I like to think that they are proud of us for the fact that now all of their energies, all the knowledge and everything that they had related to agriculture, that somewhere along the line we're no longer proud of it. That we take another look and
Yeah.
be proud of that history, be
Mm.
proud of the knowledge that they passed on to us, and do with it what they would have us to do, and that is make life better for all of us.
I am so excited, and I say this, and whether this is kept in or not, I am excited because the viewers may not know. I was a part of the UCAN at one point, and I know this was a dream that we all had for this property that was once the the attacking point, the vantage point of the tragedies of enslaved people and natives to become back into the hands of the descendants of enslaved people as Eastern North Carolinians. And to hear that you all are getting this property,
Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations, because it's only right.
Uh,
So, tell us the origin of UCAN. What drove you, a former extension director, to creating this nonprofit and even farming on this land?
oh gosh, there's so many things that drove me to this, and among them is the plight of our, what I phrased as our returning citizens. I
Mm-hmm.
saw individuals returning who had been incarcerated, finding it difficult to find jobs.
Mm.
With gentrification, I saw a lot of families being moved from inner city Durham without the necessary resources back out to the county.
Mm.
I saw longer lines at the food pantry, and where there was always giveaways. So that's what brought me here. Because when I think of food and nutrition and farming, I think of access. We tend to say that people don't have because they don't want or don't put forth the energy to obtain.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a big part of it is access to land, access to space. Because food insecurity, with it comes not only the ability to acquire food, but the thriving part comes with the ability to grow your own food,
Mm.
regardless of where you are. And for me, I connect food in agriculture with everything. I really do believe that from the earth comes it all.
Yes, yes.
We're finding so many of our kids are in Title I schools that are low performing school, a high percentage of free and or reduced lunch.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe there's a direct connection between agriculture, food, and academic success. So when we bring families and bring children out, what I'm doing really, or what we're doing really, is making that connection. Then also, I think when you talk about access to land, access to garden space, is realizing that it doesn't take very much to grow a whole lot. Some of our programs consist of what we call the green bucket gardening program, and that is actually taking a 5 gallon bucket, green, it just happens to be, putting holes in the bottom and on the side, filling up with soil and planting tomato plants or planting pepper plants or even planting about four collard green plants. So you can do it on your deck, and it shows kids that there is a sense of pride in that. The academics come in when you talk about how deep to plant it. How many can I plant? Because it says it needs to be spaced this much. So you're applying some of that math, for example, that you've learned as a child in school to real life experiences. And I think that's the way to help our kids succeed as well academically.
I love it. I love it. And then my final question before we take a little walk around and see the property, I know the people want to see it, it's so beautiful, is where are your safe spaces that you have? In today's time, it is difficult sometimes for us as black folk to find safe spaces to safely purchase plants or seeds or to even enjoy nature. What are a couple of safe spaces that you found
We're
within?
sitting in one right now.
I love it.
This is the safest place I know of. It is so peaceful. People come here and they comment often about how peaceful it is. This land is healing.
Yes.
Agriculture is healing,
Mm-hmm.
and people find healing here. And one of the things that we normally say is you're learning to garden, you're learning to raise your own food in a very supportive
Yes.
environment. We're all learning together. I may have been farming for a minute or for a little bit, but I don't know everything. And so we learn from each other. And I think so here is a safe place. Other places such as this
Yes.
are safe places. One of the reasons that we send kids home when all they have is a back step or a stoop, as some would call it, with a green bucket to grow tomatoes or other
Mm-hmm.
vegetables or even flowers in, because that can be a safe place.
Yes.
It can be. So we can make our own safe places with things that bring us peace, brings us a little healing, and bring us a little comfort to relieve our minds of some of those day-to-day frustrations, those disappointments, and all that this life has to offer. That's a safe place. A safe place can be any place if you want it to be.
And that's all, and I'll end at that point. So let's go into the garden
Okay.
and let's see what we have to see.
Okay. Well, to our left here is our traditional in-ground planting area. Because once you go to the community garden, to the actual garden, you'll see that it takes money to create this. But it doesn't take a lot of money to plant a seed in the ground. So we want to teach people traditional planting. In this area right now, we have growing watermelons, cantaloupe, okra, squash, and pumpkins. So we do have a few things growing over here. Within the next week, it will be much of it will be turned over somewhat, and we will be growing our winter vegetables such as collards, cabbage, kale, all of those type of vegetables. We love our pollinators. So here you see yucca plant, which is a native plant. You see some others, Coreopsis, bee balm, and here is coral honeysuckle.
Yes, a
It's no
beautiful
longer
native.
blooming at this time, but again, these are things that attract and help our pollinators. So we have eggs for sale.
Eggs for sale in North Durham, everyone. Fresh eggs. And look at these chickens. And I can already see you got some hens out here. Or these ain't the roosters, are they?
All of them are hens.
All of them are hens. Look at
We have
y'all.
leghorns, which are the white ones. They lay white eggs, and the other ones are called Easter layers, the brown and black ones, and they lay. I can't walk on all this bread.
No, it's okay. Do you?
And they lay colored eggs. So right now we're getting dark brown, we're getting blue, green, and seafoam colors.
Ooh. Yes, I remember you don't like all this grass and snakes. But you know, Derek don't mind.
I know.
Okay.
Derek must have grew up in the country.
I must have. And ooh, what is this on this fence here?
Oh, this is loofah.
Lord, look
Most
at
people
them.
think that the sponge that you bathe with,
Uh-huh.
loofah, comes from the sea,
Mm-hmm.
but actually these are loofah plants. Once the frost hit them a little bit and they dry up, we will de-seed them. We will peel them. Well, let them dry first. Get the seeds out and clean them, and you have loofah ready to take a bath with or to clean with. Now, people don't know that you can eat loofah, especially when it's this size. Those small ones are good to be eaten. And we have a young lady from Puerto Rico who loves them. So we've given her some so she could try them, and she wanted to eat some. So you can eat them. All right, so now we're actually entering the community garden. This was our first major project. And what it is a way to engage people, get families and children out here. So now we have a 47 raised bed community garden, and half of them are rented on a yearly basis by individuals from the community. So let me back up and say rented and or adopted, because we want to have youth. Youth don't have $100, which you might think is not a lot, but if you are a young person and you want to learn about agriculture, you don't have $100 to rent a bed for a year, literally January 1 through December 31st. So then that bed is yours. We tend to give it to you because we want to engage the next generation and help them to value what it is that we already value. So this is the garden. I mean, you have everything from okra. We planted some bok choy. We have flowers. Right now, we still have bell pepper, lettuce. We're planting all the fall crops at this point and actually pulling up the last of the summer vegetation. So we're in that process at this point. This building, we have a volunteer. I got to tell you about it. It's an old building. He's redone the steps, if you notice. I mean, this volunteer that he underpinned it and everything. He redid the steps as close as he could to the way that they were. And this is our greenhouse. This will be our greenhouse. So he is making this into a greenhouse, which we hope will be finished by the end of October, if not beforehand.
Well, that is phenomenal. You know I love a good greenhouse.
Yeah.
This is phenomenal.
Some of the vegetables that people may not think you can grow here are peanuts. We actually have 2 beds of peanuts growing. This is our 3rd year of growing peanuts. And if you've never seen a peanut growing, Derek, you probably have because you're from New Bern, especially eastern North Carolina, down in that way, they have them.
They do, but I've only seen them here.
Yeah, but this is what a growing peanut looks like. Peanuts are normally harvested from mid-September to mid-October. So we will be harvesting them shortly. But these are peanuts. I really would be remiss if I don't show off at least one of the garden that belongs to one of our plot owners. This is Mr. Evans' garden. You see he's still holding on to some summer vegetation, nothing like banana plants. But he's also have planted some bok choy, some lettuce, and some Napa cabbage. Okay. Now here's bok choy on this side. I said bok choy over there is Napa cabbage. But this is what his bok choy looks like at this point. Isn't it gorgeous? And you probably say, what's the white stuff on it? Well, we are not organically certified, but we use all organic pesticides, or if I can use the word, let's say insect repellents. So we just dusted them with some organic pest control. But this is one of his beds, and really he needs to come out and harvest. Isn't this beautiful? Beautiful banana peppers. More red okra.
Gorgeous. And this coxcomb is beautiful too.
Yeah, and it got knocked down today.
Man, that is gorgeous.
Let me stand him up. I know, guys.
You care so much. I love it. I'm here for it.
Okay, you see this building directly in front of you. This is an old mill house. It was built around in the early 20th century. So, 1920s, 1910s. But the reason I want you to look at it is I want you to remember what it looks like now. Because next year this time, I will tell you what you will see. We have received half of the funding to renovate this building. So what we will be putting in there is a demonstration kitchen so we can teach people not only what to grow, but how to prepare it. It will have Wi-Fi. We will have a research area where kids can be tutored and do some research up in the top portion. And it would have a meeting area. So right now, the architects have sent us the plans. They're working on getting the permit approved. And it actually costs us $180,000 to renovate it. But it sounds like a big number, but we're not afraid of it. So far, we've acquired $75,000 of that with another $15,000 committed. So we're really close to having, a couple of $15,000. So we're really close to having $115,000 of that $180,000 that we need to complete the renovation of this building so that it can be a greater resource to the community. So look for it. Look for our campaign starting in December and support us if you can.